From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. My name is Mazino Appeal. The top stories tonight: Senate confirms nomination of service chiefs, officially formalizing their appointments with immediate effect. And President Tinubu reviews list of presidential pardon, orders removal of convicts of kidnapping and trafficking. Also, United Nations calls for end to U.S. embargo on Cuba as the Caribbean nation denies allegations of mercenary activities in Ukraine. In business tonight, FIRS orders banks to deduct withholding tax on short-term investments interest payments.
In sports, Nigeria to face Gabon in Moroccan capital Rabat in first intercontinental qualifiers for the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
Tonight begins now. Tonight begins with the confirmation by the Senate of the new service chiefs, which officially formalizes their appointments. The new military heads were nominated last week, October the 24th, by President Bola Tinubu. Those confirmed are Olufemi Oluyede as Chief of Defense Staff, Wahidi Shaibu as Chief of Army Staff, Idi Abbas as Chief of Naval Staff, and Kennedy Aneke as Chief of Air Staff. The President had, in a letter addressed to the upper chamber, requested the screening and confirmation of the nominees. The Senate subsequently devoted its Wednesday plenary to the exercise, holding a closed-door session that lasted over 2 hours. Tinubu had appointed the new service chiefs on October 24th, following reports of a foiled coup plot. And away from that, leaders of the Southwest region have renewed calls for the true federalism and inclusive governance. It was a show of unity in Akure as governors and traditional rulers from the Southwest met to push for power devolution and governance reform. Hosting the dialogue, Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa said over-centralization had stifled growth and called for genuine reforms. Lagos Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu also urged regional collaboration over competition, while Ogun's Deputy Governor Noimot Salako Oyedele, as well as Afenifere leader Pa Ruben Fasoranti, called for inclusive governance. The regional gathering is holding days after the Department of State Security Service, the DSS, issued a security warning about impending attacks by ISWAP on Ondo and Kogi states.
That our democracy is very much alive and progressing. Our democratic institutions are being strengthened through regular engagement of the people in the electoral processes, as well as the resilience of the various institutions and organs saddled with election management as a whole.
It has always been our strong advantage. Let's show it again. Let us deploy those assets towards a shared regional agenda that will deliver inclusive growth, inclusive citizens' engagement, collaborative, constructive dialogues amongst ourselves.
Than that. Think of that farmer in Akwa Ibom that will bring out his produce on that road, and in a few hours he's selling it in Lagos, or he's able to get it to the port at Ekpe or the Ondo District port. Think of that farmer in Edo. So when we're talking of farm produce perishing, think of the impact of that road when it comes to agricultural produce.
For this conversation, I am now joined by Ondo State Commissioner for Information, Ido Ajanaku. It's a pleasure to have you with us this evening, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now, Mr. Ajanaku, it's quite an interesting time for Ondo State. On one hand, the governor, or rather the government, is hosting its big Southwest stakeholders dialogue on democracy and development. And on the other hand, there's this DSS alert about possible ISWAP activity. one might say it's symbolic. There's leadership on one side and then there's a talk of security on the other. How is the government managing both optics and safety at the same time like this?
You will recall that last week I issued a statement on behalf of Ondo State government assuring the citizens of Ondo State that there was no cause for alarm, that the security memo that leaked to the public, which is just a routine exchange of memo within the security agencies across the state and perhaps across the country, we came out swiftly to assure the people of Ondo State that because there was no cause for alarm. Because a lot of measures have been put in place to ensure the safety of life and property in Ondo State. For example, you will recall that Ondo State has arguably the largest forest reserve in the southwest. And measures have been taken into consideration because this forest harbors kidnappers and bandits. That is why we were able to deploy drones to all those forests to monitor the activities of those forests with 24 hours surveillance. Not only that, we have also deployed special Amoteco forces with other security forces to parade this forest 24/7, and they were giving special allowances. And as a result of that, so many measures have been also put in place. For example, last 2 months we have bought close about 25 equipped with security gadgets to different security agencies in the Ondo State. I think I'm talking about the army, the police, and the DSS to ensure that security of life and property is saved. Having said that, we could see for ourselves that despite that little bit scare, you see that Ondo State today is public because virtually all the political heads in the southwest, all the way from Abuja, the Minister of Economy, according to the Minister of Economy, Mr. Wale, led a powerful delegation from the presidency that is Akure today as I'm talking to you. Okay. The governors of Lagos State also here.
Mr. Janaku, yeah. I beg your pardon, but I heard you say little scare. And I mean, for the people of Ondo State, when you hear ISWAP and Ondo together, it's bound to trigger concerns. Now, the DSS memo mentioned possible attacks on parts of Akure and Owo. Government called it routine intelligence, but for residents, it sounds anything but routine. So can you clarify what the public should actually take from that warning and what's being done behind the scenes?
That's what I'm saying, that security agencies shared routine memos among themselves, but we, as a government in Ondo State, we are taking a lot of measures to ensure that there was no security breach in Ondo State. For example, if you are following Ondo State in the last couple of months, close to about 4 or 5 months now, there has not been a single security breach, even in terms of kidnapping or bandit activities in the Ondo State in the last 5 to 6 months. You can check it as stand to be corrected. This as a result of the measures put in place by the state government under the leadership of Dr. Loka Itatua, the governor of Ondo. You know, those we don't make noise here, but we do our work diligently to ensure that the properties, lives and property of the people of those states are safe. So the Ondo State people believe us when we push out in statement that there's no cause for alarm because they know that various measures have been put in place to ensure their safety, life and property in the state.
So you've asked residents to stay calm, but calm doesn't always mean confidence. People want visible signs that government is actually proactive. So what specific, and I'm asking a second time, what specific steps are being taken to assure people on ground, reassure the citizens that they are absolutely safe?
Okay, if you come to Akure, the state capital, and various different cities in those states, you see security patrol all over the place. You also have undercover agencies that have been deployed across the state, particularly in the areas that you have just mentioned. Not only that, we educate the citizens of Ondo State daily on both radio and television about the need to report any suspicious activities to different security agencies, and we also have a toll line that you can call and report any suspicious movement within the state.
Well, that's giving security. It sounds like you're giving the security efforts to the citizens themselves. But then again, you have also mentioned that there are other measures on ground. Now, the DSS alert also mentioned Kogi State as well. So it means it's not an isolated concern. It's a regional security issue, as it seems. Is Ondo State working with neighboring states like Kogi State and also federal agencies to share intelligence or mount a coordinated response to the issue?
That's absolutely correct. Because you recall that the security agencies are under the purview of the federal government. Mm-hmm. But the reality of it is that under the constitution, the governor of each state is the security officer of their state. Don't forget that Ondo State borders with Kogi on the east and border Edo in the Edo State on the south, on the southern part of the state. So there's always a collaboration between the governor of those states, sharing intelligence among the security agencies to ensure safety in that area. So if you ask, is there any collaboration? Definitely yes, because the governors of those states also share intelligence, not only on security, but also on development of their various states.
Now, Mr. Ajanaku, let's talk about the stakeholders' dialogue. The theme is strengthening democracy through dialogue. But with all the current tension that's happening, some may wonder if it's the right time for such a conversation. How do you make sure this dialogue delivers real substance, not just a symbolic show of leadership?
Are you talking about tension? Are you talking about tension? Where is the tension coming from?
No, not the...
You are talking about those...
No, I'm not talking about... Sorry, would you say that again, please?
I said there's no tension in those states. Those states is absolutely calm.
Oh, no, I didn't ask about... I'm talking about the dialogue that's happening. The theme actually reads strengthening democracy through dialogue. And I'm wondering whether this is the time for such conversation with all the security implications happening around Ondo State. So my question is, how do you make sure that this dialogue delivers real substance and it's not just the show?
Well, the fact that this dialogue is holding Ondo State, holding Akure, the state capital, shows you the kind of level of secured, how secure Ondo State and indeed the state capital is. And the reality of it is that in a democracy, you have to dialogue. In a democracy, you have to talk to the people. In a democracy, you have to give feedback to the people. And the reality of it is that we, as a race, especially the people of Southwest, felt that there is a need for us to come together, to come and look at various issues, various things that have been done in the last 2 years, especially under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, and look at other ways that our region can adequately benefit more from the federal government. And we also see where we also collaborate with other regions across the country. So the dialogue is part of the democratic process we are talking about, because whether that is done by this time next year, electoral campaign will spread across the country, and perhaps we don't have the opportunity of coming together like this to speak to one another. That's why we provide this meeting at this particular time, to minds with our people to ensure that our interests within the federation is protected.
Mr. Ajanaku, thank you very much for giving us your evening to be with us on tonight. Yeah. We appreciate your presence. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Coming up tonight, JAMB officials walk out on House Committee on investigative hearing. We'll tell you why after the break. Welcome back. You're watching Tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. Senate confirms nomination of service chiefs, officially formalizing their appointments with immediate effect. And President Tinubu reviews list of presidential pardon, orders removal of convicts of kidnapping and trafficking. Also, United Nations calls for end to U.S. embargo on Cuba as the Caribbean nation denies allegations of mercenary activity in Ukraine. There was a mild drama at the House of Representatives chamber on Wednesday when the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board staged a walkout on the Committee on Basic Education Examination Bodies. The committee had convened a meeting to scrutinize JAM's 2023-24 budget performance, its internally generated revenue utilization evidence of remittance to the Consolidated Revenue Fund and bank statements from 2023 till date. However, tensions flared when the representatives of JAM requested that journalists vacate the room, claiming the documents needed to be presented contained sensitive information, a request that was refused by the committee.
May I create the indulgence of this committee that what we have brought to this committee are sensitive informations and that we don't require the presence of pressmen. Kindly give us benefit of that they should excuse us, please.
Jam, you don't have that right. If you have such, you just whisper to the chairman, or you whisper to the clerk to tell the chairman.
Please let us go.
Jam. Order for your arrest. Whatever you think you have. Even if you own this country, please. Even if you think you own this country, you'll be arrested. Useless man. Please tell me.
The committee should take a position on the excesses of JAM. Yes, human feeling or wearing human face, we can decide to say, okay, let's forgive them. It's within the position or decision of the committee, wearing human face. But however, I think the committee should be able to take a position that from now till Tuesday.
To some politics now. On Tuesday, newly appointed chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Joash Amupitan, said that the court cannot continue to determine elections. According to him, elections must be won at the polling units. The INEC boss, who assumed office barely a week ago after being sworn in by President Bola Tinubu, described the current situation where over 1,000 pre-election cases were filed before the 2023 general elections as unsuitable, or rather unsustainable. According to him, lasting reform must begin with the political parties themselves. He emphasized that his goal is to make the law an instrument of change, not chaos. Let's turn now to a PDP chieftain and the party's former governorship aspirant in Lagos State. I want to say thank you very much for joining us here now this evening, sir. It's been good to have you. I'm going to be asking a few questions regarding both the INEC situation and also the situation inside of the PDP. But first, let's start with the INEC situation. Now, the new INEC chairman, he's told that, well, first off, seeing what INEC has been like since, especially up until 2027, there seems to be an overhaul that he is determining. And he says that elections will be, and I'm quoting here, will be won at the polling units, no longer in the courtroom. So I'm wondering what confidence he has. If the system still remains as is, as was given to him, what confidence do you think he has to be able to make that declaration?
He can make that statement if he obeys the rules and regulations governing INEC, which is that the results from the polling units represent the true result of the election, and there will be no manipulation at the collation center. There will also be guidelines assuring that what is going on in the polling units is valid, legal, democratic. If he can guarantee all of this, then he can say that there will be fewer complaints that have to go to court. You see, because the reason why there's so many cases in court after elections is because candidates do not believe in the validity of the election. What this new INEC chairman is saying is good, but talk is cheap. Actions speak louder than words. We have to see him in performance. Let's have a credible election. Don't manipulate the figures. look, whether the machines work or not is secondary to one important issue, that is the integrity of the person who is chairman. As we stand today, short of electoral reform, whereby the INEC chairman and the INEC commissioners will not be chosen, will not be appointed by the president. Can you imagine the president who is a competitor in the election is also the man choosing the referee? It is not good. But since we have not had the proper electoral reform which we need, whereby all the political parties, the key political parties, will be represented on the INEC board equally, not so that the chairman of the board will be rotational among the party leaders and so on. In other words, a situation whereby the president of the country who is contesting in the election is not the one to appoint as he has done now. Okay. It is very suspicious. People go to Ghana, they talk about the reform in Ghana. I was at a meeting when the Ghanaian situation came up. They were doing the same thing we are doing here, but they came, they said, this has to end. The president cannot choose the INEC chairman. Right. And until we have that reform, all we can do now is depend on the integrity of the INEC chairman. Okay. This new chairman appears from his credentials and the things he's saying that he wants to do the right thing. Let us see how it goes.
Dr. Adetukumbo Pierce, let me first of all apologize. I didn't tell your name from before. But, Doctor, we've seen IREV, we've seen BVAS, we've seen all the tech tools, and now we have Amupitan here saying that things are going to change. Now, we know that the polling units, which is where the elections are supposed to be decided, from there, it moves on to collation. And that's where trust breaks down. What happens between the polling unit and the collation center? What can Amupitan do, whether it's technology, whether it's effort, whether it's manpower, in between that gap where trust is lost?
First and foremost, transition of the results from the polling units should be transmitted electronically directly to the collation center. And the results from the polling units must not differ in any way from what has been transmitted. It's just like using your phone to transmit information. Why should it be, unless you now leave it to human error, human manipulation? Therefore, if the equipment work, and it is dependent on the equipment. You know, the equipment has never worked in Nigeria. This is the problem. Now, when the results start coming in, this last 2023 election was a terrible situation. The results start coming in from the polling units. And all of a sudden, the recording in the collation center breaks down. They stop using the IREV, it stops. And now they're waiting for results because something has happened in the polling units. There are results in this 2023 election whereby you see some political parties winning here, winning there, and you wonder what happened when they had no agents, even no agents in the polling units. What was going on? The polling units in the council election that happened a few months ago, you have a place where you have 500 voting voters, and all of a sudden, 2,000 votes are cast when there was no turnout. So it is the corruption of the system that is the problem. So the INEC chairman can correct this by accepting, for instance, if there's been an anomaly at the polling unit, say it. Okay. If the equipment breaks down in the middle of the night, let us know. This last election, only 31% of the votes cast came in when Yakubu declared Tinubu winner. It's impossible. Yeah. There should have been a rerun in that election because nobody won that election.
Dr. Pierce, Amupitan also blamed political parties for undermining election process. According to him, they overload the courts with pre-election disputes. So there already would be even problems inside of the political parties, like what we're seeing currently with the PDP. And these go on to affect the elections where you don't know who or which candidates are being... You're about to say something, sir?
It is not the political parties that decide what goes on in the polling units. In other words, the INEC is the one that must police events in the polling units. Don't blame the political parties if they can get away with murder. You must not allow it to happen. So you don't blame everything starts from the polling units, where political parties, yes, indeed, they try to manipulate the results. Look, I lived in America for many years, was involved in elections. If you, as much as display a party card or party uniform, party placard, 100 yards from the polling unit, you will be arrested. Any little thing, you'll be put in handcuffs because it is a breakdown of law and order. But we have not been doing that. So don't blame the political parties if they can go away, they can get away with doing the wrong thing. INEC must police the polling units. The results from the polling units is not to be carried by any party member to INEC coalition. It has to be carried by INEC from the polling units.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm not blaming the parties, but the fact that there's so many things happening within these parties, like the PDP currently has this convention which might, and I say might because they're very unsure, might be happening inside of November. But there's still so many...
It will happen on the 15th and 16th of November.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that has to do with zoning. Dr. Pierce, why is zoning still a very delicate and, it would seem, deliberate issue within the PDP? Deliberate because it might seem some people are using that as a means to destabilize the party.
Look, there is no problem with zoning. Let us talk about what is going on in the party so that you understand,
please,
why there have been so many issues with the PDP and the convention. First one was brought up by Mr. Wike, who said that the South-South Congress that was conducted by him must be recognized by the National Working Committee of the party. The National Working Committee of the party said to him, you were not authorized to conduct a Congress. You don't have the right. Therefore, we do not accept your election. He is saying that the delegates that come out of that Congress that he had must be recognized by the party. Party said, no, that's all. That's what's going on. That's for Wiki. That's what's going on. You understand me? Yes. So if he goes to court, it's his right to go to court. That has nothing to do with the system that the PDP is running. Court itself has said that such issues are local concern of the party, should be decided by the party. So let the court stick to its word, do the right thing, keep to the law that it has said, and there'll be no problem. Now, let me tell you the other one that is going on now in the Southeast.
Yes, please.
In the Southeast, some members of the House of Assembly, National Assembly, are saying that if the woman leader that was zoned, you see, because the zoning was clear to everybody, but you know, everybody can be satisfied with what the results are. That's where you have a problem. The Southeast is a good example. The woman leader was zoned to the Southeast. The national woman leader, national financial secretary, zoned to the Southeast. National deputy secretary, zoned to the Southeast. The national deputy youth leader, zoned to the Southeast. Of all these four, 3 of them are principal officers of the party, members of the highest structure of the party, the INEC. Therefore, the party has zoned very nice, comfortable, powerful positions to the Southeast. But some people are claiming that when the woman leader was zoned to the Southeast, it was because of Mba, the governor. And now that Mba is left the party, that the woman leader position that Mba had approved for a certain member should be taken away from that member and be given to another state within the Southeast.
So that gives us an idea of the internal wranglings that are going on inside of the PDP. And it's very clear now. Dr. Pierce, apologies, but I had other questions, but we have run out of time. But I will be asking that we have you up on another show so we can have a very robust conversation about the zoning issue within the PDP.
We don't have a problem with the zoning. It's people who challenge the zoning.
Right. Yes,
but other people are comfortable with the zoning within the state. So it's a question of internal discussion, disagreement and discussion, and negotiations.
And we will have that conversation. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, to other matters. Well, let's let you know what we have still coming on tonight. At least 20 dead in Haiti as Hurricane Melissa remains unabated. Details of this and more coming up after the break. Welcome back. Now, the Kano state government says that it has completed and initiated new projects across the 44 local government areas of the state, many of them abandoned for about 8 years by successive administrations. Now, this is as the local government chairman mark their one-year anniversary in office today, being the 27th of October 2025. The State Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs and some of the council chairmen spoke to News Central Television, reeling out the completed and executive projects. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu here reports.
Abin da ya shafi gine-ginen hanyoyi. The local government chairman of Kano State giving an account of their stewardship since assuming office last year.
Akwai aiki da ya sahale mana aikin culvert and drainage about 3 to 4 kilometers idan ka tafi garin Bachirawa. Akwai vocational training center wacce ita ma mai girma gwamna ya sahale mana ita a ga mazaɓar rijiyar zaki, wanda yau in ka je rijiyar zaki zaka ga alhamdulillahi ana abubuwa kala-kala a wannan vocational training center. In fa a mazaɓar rijiyar zaki ma in addition akwai ayyuka na shi ma culvert and drainage, in fa ya kai about 2.1 kilometers.
Abin da ya shafi ɗinkin kayayyaki da wasu sana'o'i, in ka je wannan santa da mai girma gwamna ya sa mana muka yi a ƙaramar kuma bebeji, to wallahi sai irin kayan da suke ɗinka sai ka ce a Indonesia ko China aka ɗinka kayan. Kuma kudi ne mai girma gwamna a zo empower ɗin matan nan a ba su kekunan ɗinkuna su je su rinka yin wannan sana'a a gida. Kaga wannan ya tabbatar da an kori talauci a ƙaramar kuma ta bebeji, matan mu da yawa da yaran mu sun koyi sana'a. To kaga wannan ma wata nasara ce da muka samu.
His Excellency has a vision for what the local government should do. It's a blend of autonomy, guided autonomy kind of. We inherited so many dilapidated infrastructures.
Mukadas Bala Jogana, chairman Gezao local government area, claimed he worked more harder as he has spent every penny he was allocated to for development projects on the 11 wards of his local government.
Na fara samun nasara ga wani gama wani aiki mai tarihi wanda yake akalla aikin nan wajen shekara 30 suna neman su bai samu ba. Shine na hada wutar lantarki daga garin Wangara zuwa Kankan B, wadda wannan wuta mun hada ta kuma mun kunna ta yanzu ana amfana da ita a garin nan. Sannan na koma Baita, asibitin da ya fi shekara 20 ya lallace ba amfani da shi. A nan na zo na gina wannan asibiti mai gado 10. Na je na bude da kaina na ce a fara zuba ma'aikatan asibiti su ci wannan, kuma na ziyarci wajejen na gani ma'aikatan asibitin nan suna ji ana zo ana magani har ana kwantar da marasa lafiya.
The local council bosses claimed their feat was made possible by the state's #1 man, Governor Abba Yusuf, a man they say is second to none currently in Nigeria's leadership team, following his mentorship experience under Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, a former governor and leader of the NNPP.
the current ruling party in the state.
Shekara guda da muka yi a office, domin shekara guda da muka yi a office shekara ce da ta zo da abubuwa na alkhairai da dama wanda mai girma gwamna ya bamu dama. Ko yanzu za mu ce alhamdulillah yau ta fi jiya a local government mu gabaki daya 44, kuma za mu yi alfahari da wannan shekara ɗayan da muka yi, domin da dama a cikinmu wannan shekara ɗayan da muka yi mun yi abubuwan da shekara 8 da aka yi gwamnatin baya ba a yi su ba a wannan shekara ɗayan da muka yi, wanda duk wannan ya faru ne da yardar mai girma gwamna da sahalewarsa. To mu ba abin da za mu ci, za mu gode wa Allah na farko, sannan za mu gode wa gwamnan Kano da ya ba mu dama a local government mu ƙananan hukumominmu domin mu yi wa'ina ayyuka na alkhairi.
New Central's crew went around Kano State to catch a glimpse of the claimed giant strides as well as interacting with citizens.
If you look at what the local government chairmen are doing in their various local governments as far as it relates to rehabilitation of infrastructures and building new ones, and how they handle the affairs of their local governments, you find that they are quite professional in almost everything they do.
Muna jinjina ga mai girma Chairman Alhaji Muqaddas Balajo Gana, kuma mu nemi fatan alkhairi bisa cika shekara ɗaya da yi akan karagar mulkin karamar hukumar Geza. Mun ga tarin ayyuka kala daban-daban lungu da sako na karamar hukumar nan tamu ta Geza, ba abin da zamu ce sai dai godiya.
In just 1 year, Kano State Local Council Chairman seems ready to prove the efficacy of local government allocations. This has drawn a lot of attention from the civil rights activists and development partners, who look forward to the next 2 years when the 44 of them will complete their tenure. In Kano for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudu.
Outside our shores, at least 20 people have died in Haiti in flooding caused by Hurricane Melissa. The hurricane made landfall on Tuesday as a Category 5 storm in Jamaica, where people remain stuck on roofs and without power. King Charles says he is profoundly saddened by the damage across the Caribbean, adding his anxious thoughts were with those affected. Local government minister Desmond McKenzie warns Jamaicans recovering will not be an easy road. While our correspondent in Kingston, Nick Davis, reports floods, mudslides and palm trees tossed like toothpicks from Jamaica. The storm traveled north to Cuba, bringing with it 115 miles per hour winds and heavy rains. The hurricane is now moving northeast towards the Bahamas, where a dangerous storm surge is expected tonight, and then Bermuda. Now to one of our top stories. The United Nations General Assembly has called for an end to a U.S. economic embargo on Cuba which has been for 33 years. Now, this is despite a lobbying by Washington that included sharing an accusation that up to 5,000 Cubans are fighting alongside Russian forces in Ukraine. It adopted a resolution with 165 votes in favor, 7 against, and 12 abstentions. Unlike previous years, the U.S. convinced Argentina, Hungary, North Macedonia, Paraguay, and Ukraine to join it and Israel in voting against the resolution. Last year, the General Assembly adopted the resolution with 187 countries voting in favor. The United States and Israel were the only countries that voted against it, while Moldova abstained. Cuba has rejected as unfounded the U.S. claims and released information on legal proceedings against Cubans for mercenary activities in Ukraine. Now we'll be back with business, sports, and entertainment. Do stay with us.
This segment is brought to you by MoneyPoint.
Business tonight. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, has directed banks and other financial institutions to deduct a 10% withholding tax on all interest payments from short-term investment securities. The directive signed by FIRS Chairman Zach Adedeji applies to banks, stockbrokers, discount houses and government agencies. Interest from treasury bills, corporate bonds and similar instruments will now be taxed at source, with remittance due by the 21st of the following month. However, federal government bonds and central bank issued OMO bills remain exempt. The move is part of Nigeria's broader tax reforms aimed at boosting revenue and strengthening fiscal sustainability under the new 2026 time regime. Nigeria's House of Representatives has approved President Bola Tinubu's request to borrow $2.35 billion to finance part of the 2025 budget deficit and issue a $500 million debut sovereign sukuk in the international capital market to fund infrastructure projects. Now, the $1.23 billion external borrowing aligns with the 2025 Appropriation Act and will be raised through Eurobonds, syndicated loans or bridge financing, depending on market conditions. Tinubu said the sukuk insurance would diversify Nigeria's investors base and also complement over 1.39 trillion naira raised domestically through sukuk since 2017. With proceeds earmarked for critical infrastructure and partial repayment of high-cost debt. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, it's market figures. The end of today's trading session ended bearish on the Nigerian exchange, a total of 27,629 deals, with 14% decline in volume, 42% decline in turnover, and 15% decline in deals. The benchmark NGX all-share index dropped by negative 0.7 points to close at 154,260.96. And the current market capitalization of the stock market in NGN, that's 97.91 trillion naira. Now let's take a closer look at the sectors we are tracking. The bearish trend shows across the sector, with NGX banking index dipping by 0.27%. Insurance sector went down further by minus 2.36%. NGX oil and gas index went even further into the red with minus 3.68%. Although a fairer tone of red was seen with NGX consumer goods index at minus 0.24%. Even NGX Industrial Goods Index maintains the negative run at minus 1.57%. And that's it for business news tonight. Coming up, we have sports and, of course, Onyechi with us.
In the world of sport, the Confederation of African Football has revealed dates and host city for the second round of the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers to be hosted by Morocco next month. The mini-tournament, scheduled for November 13 to 16, 2025 in Rabat, will feature Nigeria, Cameroon, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Gabon. Nigeria will face Gabon in the opening game at the 18,000-capacity Al Barid Stadium at 5 p.m. Nigerian time, while Cameroon will battle the DRC at 8 p.m. in the same venue. The winner of both fixtures will face off in the final continental match at the Prince Moulay Hassan Stadium on November 16. The winner will advance to the FIFA Intercontinental Playoff in Mexico, scheduled for March 2026 for Africa's final World Cup sport. And now to the University Games, where the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Jos, Professor Tanko Ishaya, has expressed his confidence in the institution's capacity to stage a memorable National University Games. Staff and students of the university recently embarked on a roadshow in the northern city ahead of the upcoming competition. At least 10,000 athletes from 22 universities are expected to compete in the 23 sporting events from the 6th to the 16th of November 2025.
All right, welcome to the world of entertainment. Today we're talking about Two-Face Idibia, now known as Tubaba. He put out a heartfelt letter talking about "Without You, My Story is Incomplete" as it marks 25 years in music. Nigerian singer Tubaba is marking a major milestone of 25 years in the music industry. In an emotional open letter titled "Without You, My Story is Incomplete," it reflected on his journey from humble beginnings to becoming one of Africa's most celebrated musicians. Now, Tubaba expressed deep gratitude to his fans, colleagues, and mentors who have supported him throughout his career. That's all on entertainment for tonight. Thank you for watching. My name is Kate Adeogun.
And that's the news tonight. Please do remember to send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screens now, and follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV 422, GoTV 23, Star Times 274, Evo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.